Awakening. The red sand of Helios 7 crunched beneath Dr. Elena Reyes' boots as she carefully brushed away centuries of dust from the strange metallic object. The colony world's twin suns beat down mercilessly, but Elena barely noticed the heat. After 15 years as a xenorchaeologist studying alien artifacts across the outer rim, she had finally found something extraordinary. "This isn't Meraxi technology," she muttered into her recorder. "The composition appears similar to pre-settlement era alloys, but the craftsmanship is far beyond our current capabilities." The object, a smooth hexagonal device roughly the size of her palm, had been buried beneath an ancient landslide. Elena had only found it because the recent terraforming operations had shifted the terrain, exposing a corner of the device. She turned it over in her gloved hands. Unlike most artifacts she'd encountered, this one bore no markings from the Meraxi, the dominant alien species that had uplifted humanity from their primitive existence on scattered colony worlds 3 centuries ago. According to official history, humans had always been a minor species, spread across a few dozen worlds, until the benevolent Meraxi had integrated them into galactic society. But this device told a different story. When Elena's fingers brushed across a recessed panel, the device hummed to life. A soft blue light emanated from its core, and a holographic display materialized above it. Elena gasped as symbols scrolled across the projection, symbols in human languages. "That's impossible," she whispered. "Pre-settlement humans didn't have this technology." The symbols rearranged themselves, cycling through several alphabets before settling on modern standard. DNACAN complete. Human DTCTD. Initiating Rico Virai Parotokyo L Alpha. A voice emanated from the device, startlingly human in its inflection. "Greetings, descendant. I am Atlas, Advanced Temporal Logging and Archival System. I have been waiting for 327 galactic standard years to be reactivated." Elena nearly dropped the device. What are you?" "I am the final contingency plan of the United Human Systems, created to preserve the truth of human history in the event of catastrophic defeat." Elena's archaeological training kicked in, overcoming her shock. "United Human Systems. There's no such entity in our historical records." "That is because your history has been rewritten," Atlas replied. "Humanity was once a major galactic power with technology that rivaled the oldest species in the galaxy. The collection of species you know as the Collective, led by the Meraxi, feared human potential and waged a war of extinction against your ancestors." Elena shook her head. "That contradicts everything we know. The Meraxi uplifted us, taught us, conquered you," Atlas interrupted. "The Collective didn't merely defeat humanity. They scattered the survivors across remote worlds, erased your technology, manipulated your genetic expression to limit cognitive development, and rewrote your history. What they could not eradicate, they subjugated and deceived." The hologram shifted to show images that staggered Elena's understanding of reality. Vast human cities spanning continents, fleets of starships unlike any she'd seen, humans working alongside artificial intelligences, and alien species in what appeared to be partnerships of equals rather than the carefully managed integration the Meraxi permitted. "This can't be real," Elena said, though doubt crept into her voice. "Your genetic signature confirms you are a descendant of Admiral Sophia Reyes, who commanded the final defense of the Sol system. Your intuitive skepticism is part of the human cognitive pattern that the Collective fears, the ability to question established truths and imagine alternatives." Before Elena could respond, her wrist communicator buzzed with an urgent alert. Her research assistant, Davi, sounded panicked. "Dr. Reyes, Collective enforcers are landing at the colony hub. They're asking specifically about your excavation site. Someone must have reported your find." Helena glanced at the device in her hand. If what Atlas claimed was true, the Collective would destroy this evidence immediately. "How much time do we have?" she asked. "Minutes at most. They've grounded all outbound ships." Elena made a split-second decision. "Atlas, can you interface with my equipment?" "Affirmative. My protocols include adaptive integration capabilities." "Then I need you to help me escape this planet with your data intact." The next 20 minutes were a blur of activity. Elena packed essential equipment while Atlas connected to her field computer, downloading its vast database. As they worked, Atlas explained that its activation had triggered a quantum beacon that would alert other dormant nodes of human technology scattered throughout the galaxy. "The collective will detect these activations," Atlas warned. "Their response will be swift and severe." Elena's escape plan relied on human ingenuity, the very quality Atlas claimed had terrified the collective. Rather than trying to reach the spaceport where collective enforcers waited, she repurposed her archaeological survey drone, following Atlas's instructions to enhance its propulsion system using parts from her field equipment. As the enhanced drone carried them across the planet's surface, skimming just above the red sands toward a small emergency shuttle bay at a remote mining outpost, Elena saw collective ships darkening the sky above the main colony. "They've brought a suppressor vessel," Atlas observed. "They intend to memory wipe the entire colony to eliminate all knowledge of my discovery." Elena felt sick. All those people. The collective has done this countless times across centuries. This is why humanity remains unaware of its true heritage. They'd reached the mining outpost just as the first energy pulse from the suppressor vessel washed over the distant colony. Elena felt nothing, but Atlas explained that the pulse was targeting specific neural pathways associated with recent memories. The emergency shuttle was basic and old, but with Atlas's guidance, Elena bypassed the standard launch protocols and navigation systems. If she had filed a flight plan or requested clearance, the collective would have tracked them immediately. "The shuttle's drive is inefficient, but sufficient," Atlas said as they broke atmosphere. "We must reach the Tannhauser Drift, a region of space where scattered human enclaves maintain some degree of independence from collective oversight." "How can humans resist the collective at all if we've been so thoroughly suppressed?" Elena asked. "The human cognitive architecture resists complete suppression. Throughout history, some humans have questioned the official narrative, sensing inconsistencies. The collective dismisses them as deviants or fantasists, but these individuals often find each other." As their shuttle entered FTL, Elena had time to process everything she'd learned. If ATLAS was telling the truth, and the collective's extreme response suggested it was, her entire understanding of human history and her own identity had been a carefully constructed lie. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we awaken humanity," Atlas replied. "My activation has triggered dormant systems across human-inhabited worlds. Others like you will make similar discoveries. The knowledge I contain, scientific, historical, cultural, will begin spreading. Humans will start remembering who they truly are, and the collective will try to stop us. Yes, but they fear you for a reason, Dr. Reyes. Humanity possesses a unique cognitive advantage. You don't think like other species, where they rely on established patterns. Humans create new ones. Where they optimize existing solutions, humans imagine entirely different approaches. This is why they couldn't risk leaving humanity's potential intact." Over the following months, Elena traveled between human settlements, staying ahead of collective pursuers. With each stop, she connected with others who had found their own pieces of humanity's forgotten legacy. Engineers who had discovered impossibly advanced technology, historians who had noticed inconsistencies in official records, ordinary people whose latent human potential had begun to reassert itself. On Proxima Station, Elena met Marcus Chen, a shipyard technician who had independently modified collective drive systems in ways their designers had never considered. On New Terra, she found Dr. Amara Okafor, a geneticist who had been investigating unexpected patterns in human DNA that suggested deliberate manipulation. By combining Atlas's knowledge with these scattered insights, they began to form a resistance movement. Small at first, just a few hundred people across a dozen worlds, but growing exponentially as more humans awakened to their suppressed potential. The collective responded with increasingly harsh measures. Entire settlements were memory wiped. Suspected resistance members disappeared. Monitoring of human activities intensified. But these actions only confirmed the truth of Atlas's claims, driving more humans to question the reality they'd been taught. 1 year after Elena's discovery on Helios 7, the first act of open resistance occurred when a human mining colony refused entry to collective inspectors. The miners had reconstructed ancient human defensive technology based on Atlas's specifications. When the collective sent enforcers to subdue them, the miners not only repelled the attack but captured a collective vessel intact. The news, suppressed in official channels but spreading through clandestine human networks, ignited similar actions across human settlements. The awakening had begun, and nothing the collective did could put humans back to sleep. As Elena stood on the bridge of the captured collective vessel, now repurposed as the first ship in the reborn human fleet, she looked at the stars with new eyes. "They tried to make us forget who we are," she said to Marcus and Amara, who had become her closest allies. "But humanity is back, and this time, nothing can stand in our way." Atlas's hologram flickered beside them. "The next phase begins now. We must find Earth, humanity's homeworld." "Earth is just a myth," Marcus said, "a story told to children." "No," Elena replied, her eyes fixed on the galaxy map. "It's real. And whatever secrets it holds are the key to humanity's freedom." Resurgence. 5 years after Elena Reyes discovered Atlas on Helios 7, humanity's resistance had transformed from a scattered movement into a formidable force. What began as isolated acts of defiance had evolved into a coordinated rebellion stretching across hundreds of worlds. Elena stood on the observation deck of the Prometheus, once a captured collective patrol vessel, now the flagship of the human fleet. The ship had been modified almost beyond recognition, incorporating recovered human technology with innovations that would have been impossible for any collective engineer to conceive. "Admiral Reyes," a voice called from behind her. Elena smiled at the title, one she'd initially resisted but eventually accepted as the resistance leadership structure formalized. She turned to face Marcus Chen, now her chief of operations. "Status report. The palace shipyards are fully operational. We've completed another 6 vessels using the hybrid designs. The collective still can't figure out how we're bypassing their security protocols." "They can't understand what they can't imagine," Elena replied. "And imagination has always been humanity's advantage." The door to the observation deck slid open, and Amara Okafor entered. Over the past 5 years, Amara had led a revolutionary project to reverse the genetic suppression the collective had imposed on human populations for generations. "The Nova treatment has reached 43% of human settlements," Amara reported. "We're seeing cognitive awakening across all age groups, particularly in children. Some are displaying abilities that exceed even pre-suppression baselines." The collective didn't just want to contain human potential, Atlas commented from the holographic projector nearby. They feared what humanity might become if allowed to develop naturally. Elena nodded. "And that fear is why they're losing control. They spent centuries perfecting ways to suppress us, but never developed strategies for confronting unleashed human potential." The collective's response to humanity's resurgence had evolved from containment to outright warfare. Initially, they had attempted to isolate outbreaks of resistance, employing memory wipes and stricter controls. But humans adapted faster than the collective could respond, developing countermeasures against suppressor technology and establishing communication networks that the collective couldn't detect, let alone intercept. When direct suppression failed, the collective deployed military assets, only to discover that humans excelled at asymmetric warfare. Conventional fleet engagements inevitably favored the collective's superior numbers and firepower, but humans rarely fought conventionally. They struck from unexpected vectors, used unpredictable tactics, and constantly innovated their weaponry and defenses. Most confounding to the collective was humanity's decentralized command structure. The resistance had no single headquarters to target, no critical leadership node whose elimination would collapse the movement. Each human enclave operated semi-autonomously, coordinating through 8 last nodes, but developing their own approaches to resistance. The Meraxi High Command has requested a parley, Marcus said, bringing Elena back to the present moment. Their emissary will arrive at Tannhauser Station tomorrow. Elena raised an eyebrow. A genuine peace overture or a trap? Possibly both, Atlas replied. Collective internal communications indicate growing fractures among the member species. Some advocate for accommodation with humans, arguing that integration is preferable to prolonged conflict. Others, the Meraxi hardliners in particular, insist on complete suppression. Either way, it's a distraction, Elena said. The real prize remains Earth. Have we made progress on the coordinates? Amara nodded enthusiastically. We've been analyzing the quantum entanglement signature from all recovered 8 last nodes. Each contains a fragment of a navigation key, a deliberate security measure by our ancestors to prevent the collective from finding Earth if a single node was captured. And, Elena prompted, we've assembled enough fragments to establish a search grid. It's still vast, covering 17 possible star systems, but it's narrowed from the thousands we started with. Atlas's hologram expanded to display a 3-dimensional star map. The collective has hidden Earth for centuries, likely behind advanced cloaking technology or within a pocket of distorted spacetime. Whatever they're hiding at Earth, it's worth the risk to find it. Elena declared, prepare the Prometheus and 2 companion vessels for immediate departure. The rest of the fleet will continue the diversionary campaign to keep the collective occupied. The mission to find Earth began in secrecy, while the bulk of human forces engaged collective fleets across the outer rim, drawing their attention and resources away. The Prometheus and its companion ships slipped into unexplored regions, following the fragmented coordinates recovered from 8 last nodes. They encountered numerous collective automated defenses and patrol routes, evidence that something valuable was indeed being protected. Using innovative stealth technology, combining recovered human designs with new innovations, they navigated through these barriers, methodically investigating each potential location. On the 17th day of their search, while exploring the 3rd star system on their list, they detected an anomalous energy signature. The readings don't make sense, Marcus said, studying the sensor data. According to our instruments, there's nothing there, but the gravitational measurements indicate a planetary mass. It's cloaked, Elena realized, not just from visual detection, but across the electromagnetic spectrum. Atlas analyzed the readings. The technology is consistent with advanced human phase-shifting capabilities, designed to place an object slightly out of alignment with normal spacetime, rendering it effectively invisible. Can we penetrate it? Elena asked. Yes, Atlas replied. The phase shift was created using human technology. The ship systems I've helped you restore can generate a matching frequency that will allow us to pass through the barrier. As the Prometheus approached the invisible boundary, the ship's systems began to vibrate in harmony with the phase shift. The view screen flickered, and suddenly a blue-green planet materialized before them. Earth, humanity's forgotten homeworld, hidden in plain sight for centuries. It's beautiful, Amara whispered. Surface scans revealed no large-scale civilization or technology. Instead, Earth appeared largely uninhabited, its once great cities reclaimed by nature. But deeper scans detected massive installations beneath the surface, particularly concentrated under the region once known as Geneva. Elena led the landing party personally. As their shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, she felt a strange sense of homecoming, despite never having set foot on this world. According to the false history she'd been taught, Earth was merely a myth, the imaginary origin point in human folklore. The landing party made its way to the coordinates of the subsurface installation. What they found exceeded their expectations. A vast complex extending miles beneath the surface, maintained by automated systems that had continued functioning for centuries. "This is the contingency vault," Atlas explained as they navigated the facility. "Created as humanity's final insurance policy before the collective's victory. Everything that defines human civilization was preserved here. Our knowledge, our culture, our potential." In the central chamber of the vault, they discovered what the collective had been so desperate to keep hidden. Thousands of stasis pods containing human minds preserved at the peak of their development. Scientists, artists, leaders, the brightest minds of humanity's golden age, preserved until they could be awakened safely. But the true secret lay deeper still, in a heavily shielded laboratory at the vault's core. Here they found research that explained why the collective had feared humanity enough to nearly eradicate them. Evidence of an evolutionary leap that had just begun before the war. A fundamental change in human cognitive architecture that would have elevated humanity beyond anything the galaxy had seen before. The Nova treatment isn't just restoring us to our original state, Amara realized, reading through the ancient research data. It's unlocking the potential our ancestors had just begun to tap into. A potential the collective couldn't match, Elena added, understanding at last the true reason for humanity's suppression. Not because we were violent or destructive, but because we represented an evolutionary path they couldn't follow. Before they could fully process this discovery, alarms sounded throughout the facility. Atlas's hologram flickered urgently. "Collective ships have detected our presence. A massive fleet approaches, including the Suppressor Prime, their most powerful memory-wiping vessel. They intend to eliminate all knowledge of this discovery and Earth itself." Elena made a rapid decision. Begin awakening the preserved minds and transmit the Nova treatment data to all human settlements immediately. If the collective wants to erase our past again, they'll have to destroy every human in the galaxy. The battle above Earth began as a desperate last stand. The 3 human ships faced a collective armada led by the imposing form of the Suppressor Prime, a vessel the size of a small moon, designed specifically to eradicate memories and knowledge across entire planets. But as the battle unfolded, something unexpected occurred. Human vessels from across the galaxy began arriving, dozens at first, then hundreds. Despite having no way to know Earth's location, they had followed the quantum resonance of the Atlas network, drawn by an intuitive connection the collective couldn't comprehend. Admiral Veron, the Meraxi commander of the collective fleet, demanded humanity's immediate surrender. "Your resistance ends here," he transmitted. "Earth will be quarantined once more, and your rebellion will be forgotten. By you most of all." Elena's response was broadcast across the entire engagement zone. "You still don't understand what you're fighting. Humanity isn't defined by our technology or our history. It's defined by our potential. You can't suppress what we're becoming any more than you can stop the stars from burning." The battle that followed demonstrated the truth of her words. Human ships fought with tactics no collective strategist could predict, adapting in real time to each collective countermeasure. The unified human consciousness that had begun emerging, a network of minds connected not by technology, but by an evolving cognitive resonance, allowed for coordination beyond anything the collective had encountered. The turning point came when the Suppressor Prime activated its primary weapon, a pulse designed to erase all knowledge of Earth and humanity's true history. But humans across the fleet had already implemented the countermeasures developed from the Vault's data. Instead of being suppressed, the human vessels absorbed the energy of the pulse, redirecting it back at the collective fleet. Collective ships began powering down as their systems failed. The rigid, hierarchical command structure that had served the collective for millennia collapsed when faced with an enemy that could think in patterns they couldn't recognize, let alone counter. The battle ended not with the destruction of the collective fleet, but with its incapacitation. As Elena stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, watching collective vessels drift powerless through space, she realized they had achieved something greater than military victory. They had demonstrated the very quality that made humanity unique, the ability to transcend limitations, to imagine possibilities beyond established patterns. 1 month later, representatives from across the galaxy, human enclaves and collective species alike, gathered in the restored Grand Chamber of the Earth Vault. The meeting wasn't a peace negotiation in the traditional sense, but the beginning of a fundamental restructuring of galactic society. "We don't seek dominance," Elena told the assembled delegates. "Humanity has experienced suppression. We won't inflict that on others. What we offer instead is partnership. Our cognitive evolution isn't a weapon to be feared, but a gift to be shared." The Meraxi delegation, led by a younger faction that had opposed the hardliners, was particularly receptive. "For millennia, the collective has optimized existing knowledge," their speaker acknowledged. "But we've created nothing truly new in 10,000 years. Perhaps what we feared in humanity is exactly what the galaxy needs." As the gathering concluded, Elena returned to the observation deck of the Prometheus, now orbiting an Earth coming back to life as ancient cities were restored and new ones built. Atlas's hologram appeared beside her. "Your ancestors would be proud," the AI said. "You haven't just reclaimed humanity's past. You've secured its future." Elena nodded, watching shuttles stream between Earth and the orbiting fleet. The collective thought they could predict and control every aspect of galactic development. They never understood that true advancement comes from embracing the unpredictable. "And now?" Atlas asked. Elena smiled, looking toward the stars that had once been denied to humanity. "Now we go beyond even what our ancestors imagined. Humanity is back. And this time, we're not just reclaiming our place in the galaxy. We're transforming it."